Hey everyone, how y'all doing? My name is Mateo and I am from Maschine Masters. In this episode of Mix Talk, I'm going to show you a new plugin that I've added to my mixing toolkit. It's been a great addition to my master channel strip, and it's also free. The plugin I'm going to show you folks today is called Isolate from TBProAudio. This is a monitoring plugin that allows you to break up your mix into 5 different frequency bands. And this is really helpful for when you're focusing in on specific frequency ranges in your mix. An example of this would be, say you're working on hip-hop music and you really want to focus in on the low frequencies and the low mids to make sure that there's enough punch and clarity and you don't have some ugly rumbling going on. You can use other plugins like multiband compressors or EQs to perform this particular task, but what I find being an issue with those plugins is that when you use those plugins on your overall mix as a reference tool, the problem with those plugins is that they typically impart their own sound onto the signal that's running through it. So that means for referencing mixes and masters, this doesn't give you the most accurate representation of your audio because it is being colored in some way. So this is where Isolate comes in. It allows you to focus on specific frequency bands, but without imparting any additional sound characteristic, which is why I have found this plugin to be very useful for referencing my mixes. So let's jump into this and start going through the various parameters. So the first thing I will say about the Isolate is that when you apply it on your master channel, you want to make sure that it's after any additional processing that you have on the master channel. So I typically put a brick wall limiter on my master channel fader to prevent any sort of peaks. So I have this Isolate plugin after my limiter. So just keep that in mind when you're using this. Make sure you set Isolate after any of your compressors or EQs on your master channel. So along with Isolate, I have iZotope's Insight set up here so that we can not only hear what Isolate is doing, but also see what it's doing on the spectrum analyzer. So let's blow up the spectrum analyzer and start going through Isolate. The first thing we'll notice with Isolate is that there are 4 knobs at the top, and these 4 knobs are for the crossovers for each of the various bands. Now these crossovers can be adjusted, and you can reset them by holding down Command and clicking on them. Next, we've got 2 rows of buttons here, one row labeled Mute and the other row labeled Solo. They're the exact same bands, but they give you the option of either soloing or muting these various bands. So let's take a listen to this and hear what it sounds like. So there you were able to see and hear what I was doing with those buttons. I was able to solo the low frequencies or the mid-range or mute some of the other bands too. So it's interchangeable just depending on what you want to focus on. Next is channel mode. This right here allows you to select what the solo and mute buttons are going to be affecting. So right here it defaults to stereo, but we can set it to left, right, mid, or side. So that means if we say change this to mid and we start applying the solo or mute buttons to mid mode, that means it's going to be soloing or muting these bands only in the mid portion of the stereo image. That means the side portion of the stereo image will not be affected by what you do here. So let's listen to exactly what that means. So as you heard there, I soloed just the low frequency band first, and we heard a lot of the bass, but we were still hearing tons of high frequencies, but those high frequencies were only coming from the side image. Then I proceeded to mute all the bands, and that muted everything in the mid portion of the stereo image, and we still heard sound from the sides. Next, we have monitor. Now, what this means, it allows you to solo either the left channel, the right channel, the mid, or the side. Now, I use this section quite a bit. So typically when I'm working on, say, a hip hop mix and I want to focus on the low frequencies and the low mids, I like to focus in on the mid section of the stereo image. And then I solo the low frequency and the low mids. So let's do that here. So that was only affecting the mid section because that's all we were listening to. Now, say if I wanted to listen to what was going on in the effects, I would solo the side portion of the monitoring. So let's hear that. So there we heard that I was only listening to the side portions and I was muting the low frequency, low mids, and mids. Very handy. Now, I personally don't like listening to the side image on the sides. I know that sounds silly, but I find that the phasing required to cancel out the mid section is a bit distracting for me when I'm working. So you can actually switch the monitoring to monitor center. So what monitor center means is that regardless of what you select here, the sound is going to be coming right from the middle. So if I solo the side again, we're going to be hearing what is going on the sides of the stereo image, but it's going to be put into the middle so that it's coming right in front of you. And personally, I like that because I find that the phase cancellation that's required to create that side image doesn't distract me now. That to me is a lot easier to work with. And again, that's just a personal preference. Next, we have slope. Now, for any of you that have ever used a filter plugin, you should recognize what this is. This plugin allows you to choose either 24 or 48 decibel per octave slope, and that's for the bands over here. So that means how narrow the bands are going to be. So I typically like setting this to 48 decibel per octave because it gives me a more narrow focus on each of the bands. So when I want to just focus in on the mid frequencies, I'm getting more of just that specific band and less of the bands above or below it. So let's take a listen to how that's working, and I'll switch between 24 decibels and 48 decibels so you can hear it, the difference. So as you heard, when I switched from 48 to 24 decibels per octave, you heard more of the frequencies both above and below that band. Next, we have output, which is self-explanatory. You can either boost or attenuate the output of the signal coming out of here. And then we have dim, which personally I love. Not enough plugins have a dim button for the monitoring section. And it's just really nice to be able to hit it and have the overall level drop by the set amount of decibels that you've set over here. So I usually set it to about 20. So I'll just play it for you and dim the signal. It's something so simple, but you know what? When you're working with clients and they just want to talk with you for a moment about something, it's just really simple to click the dim button. The signal dips. You can have your conversation with them, but still have the music going in the background, and then go back to your mix, disengage dim, and the signal goes back to normal. And the last thing is filter bypass. This is basically the same thing as bypassing your plugin. So if we have a bunch of stuff going on here and then want to bypass it, we just select filter bypass. So that's pretty much the plugin overall. Now, there's one quirk that I found with this plugin, and it's something to be aware of when you're working with it. I do find that whenever I mute any of the frequency bands, there must be something going on when the plugin separates all the different bands and recombines them on the output. It unfortunately does increase the overall level of your signal. So if you're working on a loud mix or a master, you risk distorting the output. And this became apparent for me when I was listening to a mix and muting one of the bands and noticing that there was distortion being introduced, and I didn't know why. So in a case like that, you would want to turn down the output. And I'll show you an example of what's happening. So let me reset this meter. Let me blow it up. And I'll hit play and you'll see that my mix doesn't distort. But once I engage one of the mutes, you would assume that the level would decrease because I'm actually removing a band of frequencies, but instead it increases. So as you can see there, even though I was removing an entire band of frequencies, it increased the output of my mix by 3 decibels, which is quite a lot. So that I found quite surprising, and that's something that you should be made aware of when using this plugin. Hopefully TBProAudio addresses that in the future, maybe some sort of compensation like auto gain adjustment there. So overall, Isolate is a really handy tool, especially for analyzing your mixes and masters. I've started using it and really enjoy it, so I hope many of you out there get a chance to try it, and hopefully it benefits your mixes and masters as well. Thanks again to all of you that checked out this tutorial. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about what we covered in this tutorial, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Also, if you have any suggestions for future tutorials, also leave that in the comment section below. As always, please like and share this video and subscribe to Maschine Masters to keep up with all our latest tutorials. Thank you everyone, have a great day.